Hello and welcome to the first three-way command battle win, waffle and war. So we've got myself, Joseph, we've got Alexander, and we've got Chris. If you want to say hello.
Good evening.
Evening.
So, in the true spirit of waffle and war, I am eating. Not
What are you eating,
waffles.
Joe?
I'm eating some chips and some salt and pepper chicken with sweet chili sauce.
Very nice.
So I've almost finished.
We'll tell you where it's from, but we're not sponsored yet.
Yeah, we're not sponsored yet. So yes, this is the first time that the three of us have got together and we're doing this podcast. So hopefully it sounds okay, and hopefully everything will run nice and smoothly. So we're just going to briefly talk about what armies we collect. So we'll start with Chris. What armies are you collecting right now?
Oh God, right. So I've got 2 and a bit armies. I'm going to stop painting now so I can actually focus on what I'm talking about. So I'm collecting, my first army was Death Guard. So that was a nice little introductory one. Mainly going for them because of the extra detail for painting. And then we got into the game after the fact. And then I collected Necrons. And then I've got a little bit of Chaos as well as my extra bit of army.
Excellent. Alexander or Azza, what armies have you got?
Thank you guys. Can I just follow that up with a question, Chris? Because I recall once upon a time that Joe mentioned he had a friend at work that was into Warhammer.
Oh, it's true. I did.
Yeah, that was me.
That was you. But
that was me.
Did you?
Yeah, I tried.
Did you have Death Guard before, or when did you start collecting Death Guard? Because it sounds like you were into Warhammer before you actually bought any.
Good story. Good story and a good question. So, as a teenager, I mean, as when you talk to most adult Warhammer peeps these days, was into it as a teenager.
Yep.
And I collected Warhammer Fantasy rather than 40k. I had Ogre Kingdoms, and I dabbled in Lord of the Rings because I like the films, but never really played the game. It was all just about painting. And then years down the line, I thinking about a hobby that I wanted, as you do. And when you're not sure what hobby to get into, you sort of revisit ones from your past. So I went down to my local Warhammer store, and I went in and had a little look, and I had a chat with the friendly staff there, and they asked me what sort of thing I was into, and then they made a recommendation of Death Guard. So I went with them, bought a few starter set with some paints and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Joe was talking about being into tabletop gaming, which I said, "Oh, I've just restarted Warhammer," and he was like, "I'm not getting into that. I'm not bothered about that." And that was it for about a year.
Yeah.
Although I do remember me and you were discussing it at work, discussing D&D, and you were really, really not interested. You were like, oh yeah. In D&D, yeah, you were really just like, oh yeah. You were completely like blasé. You were shrugging it off, and I was like, oh, okay, because I was hoping that I could get you into, because at the time I think me as another friend, Eddie, and other people, we did a little D&D session, and at the time I was like, oh, maybe I can get this other guy into it, and you was like, yeah, nah. I was like, okay. You shut me down. I was like, okay.
We gave each other the same frosty responses to our stories and hobbies.
Maybe because I didn't listen and I shrugged. I gave you a frosty response to Warhammer. Thing is, though, when I was younger, I remember I had a friend that was into it, and I was never really that bothered. Didn't do anything for me, and I remember going into Derby and spoiler alert, that's where we are, and seeing them and thinking they're really cool, like the sci-fi stuff, and then seeing the orcs and being like, why are the orcs in space? This is a load of rubbish. And then I walked out and lost interest. That was it.
The best bit, mate. Orcs in space.
And now I know.
Okay. Yeah, and of course the price. I think to anyone that doesn't want to get into Warhammer, the price is a very good thing to say, no, not for me.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And those who are now getting upset about the price, you're too far in. So just keep going with it.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
so
I
what?
think... Oh, no, go on.
No, I was going to say, what armies are you currently collecting as are at the moment?
Okay, well, if we're doing backstories, we can always say I was into Zombicide, and I think that was the first bit where I got into sort of miniature painting since Warhammer. So I collected Space Marines as a teenager, and I came up with my own faction. That faction was based on a kind of spray paint that my dad had in his garage, and the kind of spray paint I didn't realise was made for cars. It's nitrocellulose based. When you spray it directly onto plastic, it melts it. So yeah, I thought my army's theme at the time was a half melted sort of copper coloured army, and I ended up not being that bothered about it. But yeah, we started playing Zombicide back in maybe 2015, 16, and I think that was one of the things that I tried to get you into, Joe.
Yeah, you got me into it.
Yeah, I had the sort of standard, the first edition set, and I thought, oh, I'll try painting these because there's a lot of zombies on the table. It'd be nice to sort of colour code them and all the rest, so we can see which ones are which types. And that kind of got me into the miniature painting kind of bug. And then yeah, I went into a Games Workshop shop in Burton-on-Trent, and walked out with the 8th edition starter set at the time. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, my Kickstarter of Zombicide Invade arrived, and I've still not opened it. So yeah, I split that set with my fiancée Daisy. So she had the Death Guard, I had the Space Marines, and I'm painting them as Dark Angels. All exclusively Green Wing at the minute because I'm still holding out for them updating the Terminator model so I can not do the Deathwing and then make sure. I assumed they were going to do new Terminators in 8th edition, but they didn't, and then they didn't in 9th either. But so not having Deathwing in Dark Angels is a bit silly. But that's my current army, and I'm also on the sidelines. I decided to collect orcs, and I thought, oh, the yellow ones look quite fun and cartoony, and so I decided to go with Bad Marines, not realising that they're rubbish at shooting. Well, they're better at shooting, but you want close combat orcs, that's what they're for. So that's a very long-winded intro there, but hopefully gives you a little background.
Good. You also have a few other armies from what I can remember off your display units.
Yeah. So bought the 9th edition starter set. So I've got the Space Marines in that are painted as Imperial Fists, just as a change of pace. I obviously got the Necrons out of that. Daisy's Death Guard army has grown quite a lot. And actually, the first thing that got me back into Warhammer after being a teenager was the game Assassinorum, which was the game where you've got a Chaos Sorcerer in Terminator armor and a load of Chaos Cultists, and you play as a cooperative as one of 4 assassins, and you try and stop some kind of ritual before we all die.
I remember playing that. That was quite good.
Yeah, it's very sort of based on the look of the sort of order that you shuffle the cards in, but yeah, that kind of got me back into the miniature scene, I suppose.
Very nice. Yeah, so I collect Ultramarines. Woohoo, Smurfs.
Nothing wrong with that, mate. Nothing wrong with that. Don't listen to the haters.
Remember, in any group, someone's got to collect them.
Yeah, I know. I like them. I like the poster boys.
There's a reason they're the poster boys, and it's because bright blue power armor looks really striking and really cool.
So yeah, I'm true to the chapter, true to the codex, and we follow the discipline of the codex quite closely in terms of colour, and very rarely do I stray from that. And then I've got some Tyranids, which are essentially in the same colour scheme as the Ultramarines, and it has nothing to do with the fact that I have loads and loads of the the Macragge, is it Macragge blue? I think it is. Yeah, Macragge blue base colour.
Calgar blue. Blues.
Calgar blue, and then Fenrisian greys for the highlights. I did buy some special paints just for the army, other Games Workshop paints, and then I should have at some point in time a fourth army, which is Admech potentially, and then even more so, I may or may not have some Space Wolves coming along, but I don't know. It just depends. I haven't spoken to the person that I'm buying them off yet for a while, so it should be the plan.
Excellent. And just as your sort of intro into Warhammer, you were, as Chris rightly said, you were quite against it.
Yes.
Probably because of the price as much as anything.
Yeah.
Do you remember how you actually got addicted to the plastic crack?
Yes, I do. I remember quite fondly. I remember basically you were sending me loads and loads of pictures of the stuff that you were painting and building, and it got me a little bit excited because then, I think Eddie obviously was trying to get into it at the time as well. So there was like three of us like really getting into it. And then you told me, because I said, look, dude, what do I need to start? I want to start painting, because I started painting my zombie side. I got the Black Plague base game and the expansion for that, and I was painting them, and I really enjoyed painting, really fun. And then I was like, look, dude, you hounded me with these Space Marines and this Warhammer 40k stuff. Where do I start? Because I haven't got a clue. And you were like, don't bother with it, mate. Don't bother. It's too expensive. It's a waste of time. It's a big rabbit hole that you're gonna fall down. And I was like, okay then. And Christmas was coming up, and I asked you again. You're like, no, don't worry about it. You know, you can have a look at my models, whatnot. And then you turned up one day. You did a Wild Azza, and you were like, here you go. I've got you a present. And it was was it the starter set, the first one? It came with came with 3 intercessors and 3 reapers, and then it came with some Death Guard, which I remember distinctly handing over to Chris in exchange for Mr. Fists and his Victrix Honor Guard. So it's your fault I have him.
I know. It pains me every time he defeats me. Like, I brought this on myself.
So yeah, I have Azza to blame for me getting it, and then I just, as I do with these things, if I get an interest in it, I sort of just go proper head over heels and fall for it, and I just go straight into it and just get obsessed with it. So then I ended up like frantically bidding on things on eBay and buying sets, and then being overrun by plastic crack. And then I got into the terrain, and I was like, oh god, I love painting terrain. And then that just went out of control, and now I've got at the side of me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 boxes full of plastic crack. Sorry, 13. One of them is got all my books and all dice and stuff. Yeah, so
very good.
Thankfully, I had the capacity and time to actually blitz through and paint a load of stuff. And when kids were born and I was on paternity leave and I was up at silly o'clock, gave me the opportunity at stupid o'clock in the morning to do some painting, and yeah.
That's where we've differed, because when on my paternity leave, I just slept. Any opportunity, any free moment, I slept. Well, Warhammer took a back step.
I mean,
why the videos disappeared off YouTube.
I had 2 weeks paternity leave, and then I took 2 weeks annual leave, and it was a 2 weeks in annual leave when we were able to sort of things settle down, and that I could just blitz, and then yeah.
Did you just not tell your wife you had the 2 weeks annual leave? I'm off to work now, honey.
Yeah, see you later. Bye.
Ooh, what a busy day at work. Why have you got paint on your hands?
Yeah, fortunately there is some opportunity to do some painting every so often. So I tend to go through phases, and I'm sure you guys and other people listening, if anybody is listening, or will listen, has the same thing where you sort of get the opportunity and you binge paint and binge build, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'll do something else now, and then you almost forget about painting, and it's like getting over like a hurdle to get back into painting again. Yeah,
absolutely. I'm in that spot right now, so I've got it back in by doing some dry brushing. So I'm just currently dry brushing terrain to make it look rusty. And it's a nice, easy thing to do.
And it sort of it gets the creative juices flowing a little bit. I do that with terrain. I find that terrain is a good gateway back into painting. I've just run out of base spray, and I'm gonna have to buy some more. But the tuners that I sprayed last night, they need another second coat from different angles, sort of thing. It was like 11 o'clock last night when I was doing it. So I'm gonna buy that. But whilst I'm waiting for that to come through, I've got some of the phosphoric silos from Necromunda that I want to start painting up as terrain.
Oh yeah, they look great.
I'm looking forward to them. I went a bit nuts and got 2 sets and then built them slightly differently. But yeah.
Yeah, I found with terrain, I've had to really focus on. I mean, Joe was giving me the advice for well over a year at least to stop just painting bits of this and bits of that, and to actually pick something to paint and stick with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I found getting the pipes together, spraying them all, and then starting from scratch with all the pipes, getting them all the color scheme sorted. That really got me back into wanting to focus on painting again.
And they look great.
After a break.
They look good. I mean, you should really. I mean, this would be a good time to shamelessly plug our Instagram accounts, but you should really take some photos of them and put them up on Instagram.
Yeah, I definitely need to get better at taking. For a while, I was quite good at posting, but then the baby came along and everything just kind of went up in the air for me. So hopefully we can start taking some more photos, getting those on the Instagram.
Yeah. I've noticed with Instagram as well, if you follow people for a certain amount of time, they start posting old stuff as well. Either it's the same photo or they've taken a new photo of stuff they've completed ages ago. So I think we can up our engagement a little bit by just posting old shit, old things. Sorry, everybody. We agreed not to swear before this went online, and I didn't think it was me that was going to be the first one to break that.
Oh bloody hell!
It's normally me.
Bloody hell!
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
I was just thinking as well. Other motivational tools I've found is for miniature painting. Definitely is when we're playing games. So when we've been playing regularly, and sort of, sort of thinking, oh, I really want to bring this unit.
Yeah. Well,
that's really I found. So that suddenly I just find the time that I thought I didn't have. Well, so the next time I'm playing, I can bring a nicely finished that looks really good on the battlefield.
We had a bit of a rule, didn't we, that we weren't allowed to bring an unpainted model. So it sort of drove us to, right, I want to play this. I've got to paint it, otherwise I'm not going to be able to play it. I mean, that was in 8th edition, and then obviously in 9th edition, you now get penalised for not having your models painted, which I think is brilliant. Because that 10 points, that 10 points is sometimes enough to sway the battle. I'm pretty sure I've won because of that in the past. Yeah. Let's not talk about winning and losing Warhammer games because I'm still sore from the other day.
still trying to go through the footage in your mind.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out
that one point that you can say, no, it was a draw.
Because if it's a draw, then I'm still undefeated.
You are now defeated.
I am now defeated with Tyranids.
And if there are any people out there that are wondering why their battle scribe hasn't updated with any of the new points, it could be because your battle scribe's out of date, as I found. As I was 15 updates out of date, and when we updated, suddenly I had a fighting chance against this Tyranids.
And then you won.
Yeah.
It was a good game, though. It was a good game.
Maybe Necrons aren't as useless as I thought they are. Maybe it's just me.
Well, we'll have to play test them again and see whether it's made any difference. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this whole new Arcs of Omen thing that's occurring?
I don't know much about
it. Which aspect? Because I
know all of it.
It's a series of books. There's a lot of rumours about the Lion returning. It's going to bring the narrative of Angron and all that crap, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, apparently Angron, his model release has just been delayed. I've just seen.
Is it?
Yeah, apparently so. According to spikybits.com, which I'm starting to lose a bit of faith with them, it says rumours that Angron model could be delayed. I don't know why. I'm not clicking on it. I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
But they've got like a little section that basically summarises everything that's going off at the moment. So the Arcs of Omen box sets, like the boarding patrols, which have got their own set of rules or something.
The boarding actions, yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Everyone's
Boarding
raving about that at the minute. I have no idea what it is.
So my understanding is that it's smaller than a patrol detachment, and it's basically you're limited. And I reckon they're doing a playtest for 10th edition, and I think they may either include this or adjust the the detachments, so that you can only take X amount. I know that you already do that, but you can still take a small amount of everything, can't you? So I do wonder if patrol will just be infantry and like infantry elites, which boarding patrol is. You can only have infantry. You can't have walkers or anything like that.
I see what you mean.
I've noticed on some of the message boards as well, though, that people are talking about with Arcs of Omen being able to now bring like spamming loads and loads of poxwalkers, whereas you were limited before. So I think they've removed some of the limits on some stuff as well.
So yeah, there's an Arcs of Omen detachment that basically enables you to bring, I don't know the specifics, but you can bring like 4 HQs and then 4 troops and 4 heavies, and there's next to no sort of penalties on them. I'm just trying to have a look on the Warhammer community.
On the who?
Warhammer-community.com. Got all the what do you mean? What's that? It's got all the updates for everything. So are you taking the piss?
Yeah.
Oh, I can never tell, Christopher, with you.
I'm so dry.
Yeah, so they've released a load of new stratagems that are on so like the Astra Militarium. They've got heads down, it does something. It ignores models in this unit can be ignored for the person. Oh, that's actually quite cool. So the Astra Militarium, for one command point, in a shooting phase, they basically can hide heads down, so they're hidden, and then you can't shoot them.
That's cool.
World Eaters, they've done a strategy for that as well. There's a Death Watch one. Sorry.
Boarding actions thing is specifically like you're meant to be jumping on board a space hulk or something like that, like an Imperial vessel of some, or a spaceship of some kind.
Yeah, it's a space hulk.
Is it a bit more close quarter tunnely kind? Because always the new terrain box set for the boarding thing that I've seen looks like it's like going around passageways and stuff.
Yeah.
As if yeah. So I'm guessing it's going to be a bit more combat-y and less shooty sort of thing.
But it's the same terrain as the kill team stuff, isn't it? But they just packaged it as something else.
As 40k, yeah, definitely. But interestingly, they've also done a boarding patrol battle force, which is a slightly bigger version of the boarding patrol. There's a chaos one with that big chaos drake looking guy.
Oh, the Helldrake, that's cool.
That's it, Helldrake. Arcs of Omen detachment 40k. So let's find, where are we? Oh, there.
It also means you don't have to have troops, doesn't it?
Yeah, so you can have 1 HQ, then you have 3 troops or 3 elites or 3 fast attack or heavy support or Lords of War, 3 Lords of War or 3 heavy support. And then you can have up to 9 troops, 3 elites, 3 fast attack, 3 heavy attacks, 3 more Lords of Wars, 3 more HQs, 2 more flyers, and 3 fortifications. Like the Arcs of Omen detachment, and that's 0 command points. That, like in a 3,000 point army or 2,000 point, that's going to be insane models.
I don't think I could paint that many.
Well, I think I did add all my Space Marines up, and I'm sure I had about 3,000 points. So I probably could. I should really properly go through them and add them all up. Yeah, you can have three troops, and then I imagine those minimum of 3 get added into the 9. So it's not like you can have like 12 troops or squads or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Very good. Okay.
Yeah, but I imagine that they're doing that in preparation for 10th edition to get people back in and playing it and buying it and.
Yes, yeah. There's obviously a fine balance, isn't there? Because if you listen to like people like Valrak talking, he was going off 9th edition quite a lot, so he ended up playing Horus Heresy. And now him talking about this boarding actions thing, he's quite keen on it. So I guess that's GW's way of saying stop playing Horus Heresy now. Everyone's bought it.
Yeah.
Now come back to 40k.
Yeah, in one of his videos the other day, he was saying that he's just completely gone off. I think he's played one game and that is it. In 9th edition.
Well, I don't think we play often enough to get bored of it, to be honest.
No, we've played it. How many games do you think we've played in 9th edition, considering 10th edition is coming out this year? Allegedly coming out this year.
Not as many as you'd think, I think, because obviously we've had COVID where everyone's been locked down and not able to play.
Yeah, which is a bit stupid of them releasing 10th edition after not have. But then again, if 10th edition is going to be better,
or if it's going to sell more models,
well, if it sells more
rule
models,
books,
yeah.
Well, that's the only thing with having multiple armors is that's multiple codexes.
Oh God, not again.
Yeah.
Think of the trees, guys. Think of the trees.
Yeah, I think. Well, unless there's something vastly different in the new codexes, I don't think I'll bother this time.
No, I mean, yeah, there's not much difference in.
It's tricky because I like having the stuff to physically look through and flick through, that sort of thing. But the cost is the overarching issue, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, that bloody shelf space now because I keep all my old ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the problem when you keep your old ones, because then you can compare the two and realise that they are literally like there's 3 words that have changed.
Yeah, or there's a few. Actually, the pictures don't even change. They're still the same pictures, aren't they? As well.
For the most part, yeah.
And have you noticed as well that with the codexes, they're always out of date before they've even before they even actually get sold?
Yeah,
they've already get updated, so they're already out of date before you buy it. So then it's like, well, is there much point?
Yeah, I do quite like the 3-month balance datas that they're doing. It just I imagine they're doing it just to mix it up a bit. But
yeah,
thing is,
and also it means that like with DLC that encourage game developers to release broken games and fix it later. It's the same thing, isn't it?
My only problem is I feel it's more leading towards the fact that they can use that to sell more stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at what happened to the plasma inceptors recently. I was so looking forward to using them on your Tyranids. and like within like 2 weeks, said no, not going to do that anymore.
So I saw on Reddit there was a post they were moaning about that, and quite a lot of them were like, "Oh, somebody had asked who out of you basically went out and purchased a load of plasma inceptors because and quite a lot of people were like, yeah, I'm still going to play them though. Yeah, I did. I'm still going to play the sort of thing. I mean, how annoying would that be?
Very much so, but I guess they must be fairly new to Games Workshop if they're buying stuff based on the rules.
Wow.
Yeah, just buy what you think's cool to paint, and then at some point, Games Workshop will want to sell it, and they'll make it strong again.
Yeah, well, we said that before, didn't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't realise Dark Angels was so bad in 8th edition. I kind of regretted it at first, but now I think they went really powerful at the start of 9th, then not so much. Apparently, they're really powerful again now.
Wow. The circle of Warhammer life, isn't it?
It is. Just by the time I finish painting them, I don't know. Well, I've got 50-50 chance whether they'll be good.
It depends on what edition we're on. They might release 11th edition a year later.
Oh, that's a good question for you both then. What is the oldest model that you've yet? Well, what's the model that's been on your shelf for the longest unpainted or half painted?
Chris, you take this one because I'm not too sure. It's going to be a plague marine. So when I bought the marine, the Death Guard, it was back when with the stuff set for 8th edition. So eBay was obviously full of half the starter sets for Death Guards. So I was buying those a lot cheaper off eBay. So I ended up with loads of plague marines. So I've still got quite a few. I've got about 5 or 6 that are bought from way back then that I still haven't bothered painting, so I've not needed to use them.
Yeah, Yeah. Mine is a set of Hellblasters, which I bought just after my birthday in 2019.
Wow.
Yep. It's mad.
I'm just trying to think. I've probably got a squad of intercessors that I bought probably about the same time as you bought your Hellblasters. Maybe just after. I'm sure. I've got a few other models that I got really excited to buy and to paint, and then assembled them and then put them in the to do pile, the to do box rather, and then not done anything with them. And I've also got what have I got? I've got some aggressors, some Boltstorm aggressors that I've not built yet, and I've got some eliminators. I played a game with eliminators against Chris, and I thought they were so cool in 8th edition that I immediately went out and bought 3 more, and then just I realised how much of a pain in the bum they are to paint, and just never did them.
I did that with aggressors. I've got some more Boltstorm aggressors ready to go, but Gravis armor, so many highlights.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I'm looking forward to go back to painting because I've spent a year painting Tyranids. Has it been a year? No, it's not been a year, has it?
Probably.
It must be about a year.
I think. So. It's not a year. I can tell you now because it was when my baby was born. He's 8 months old, and if you remember, I said we were joking that you were going to use my paternity leave to start on your Tyranids.
Ah, yes, we were. You're right. So it's 8 months, and I've. To be fair though, I've really blitzed through them. I've only got hang on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9 plus 12. I've got 12 gargoyles that are yet to be primed. They've been scraped and built. They're in my garage, and I've primed the other lot. And then they're the only Tyranids. Once I've done all them, I'm done for now.
You've definitely embraced the speed paint when it comes to Tyranids, because the amount of time it took you to do your like ultramarines.
Yeah,
compared to.
So I don't know if I've just gotten quicker, or whether I feel Tyranids are much easier to paint, apart from the spiky, like the Gene Stealers. I hated painting them because I just didn't like them. They were really fiddly and spiky, and they like Tyranids ruined they ruin biomass, and they ruin bloody brushes. They really do.
I think we should also point out that the reason your Tyranids are quicker is because when you do the Marines, you try and paint them in the heavy metal style, which is, your recess shading, your edge highlights, all of this excruciating detail. And that can be a little demoralizing when you've got so many bits of power armor to do.
It is, but I mean, I recess shade my Tyranids, and I do edge highlight them as well, but they're easier.
Yeah, I do that with my orcs, and turns out it takes me longer to paint my orcs when I thought it was going to be one of these, speed painty horde armies. I'm actually worse. It's my own fault.
Well, I mean, with my Tyranids, the main part that is the Wraithbone colour, I edge highlight a little bit. So I suppose I'm not fully edge highlighting the whole model because they don't need it. Yeah.
Have you got any psychological tricks to get yourselves painting a model? I'll give you an example for me. If I assemble my models straight away because it's easy for me to sit in the lounge watching TV and just scraping mold lines and gluing them. And then it's easy enough to get in the garage and give them a spray, but then that's when they sit on the shelf for ages. So what I do to try and get from that spray painted stage into the getting them painted stages to do the bases. So I just get, like, with my orcs I use, I think, a paint called Doombull Brown, and I just go, right, I'm just going to slap some paint on these bases, and suddenly it starts looking like a model. And that really sort of inspires me to carry on. It's just sort of a psychological trick that I play on myself, even though I know I'm playing it on myself.
I pretty much get hyper focused on just painting it. No, I start with, to get back in the swing of things, painting terrain, and then I feel like I can do anything. I'm like, the muscle memory suddenly comes back, holding the brush and things like that. Also, getting excited, reading the rules. and then having a game that we're going to be doing. Maybe you need to play more games as a might
Yes,
speed
yeah,
up.
definitely, and also just chatting about it.
Yeah. I think sometimes it's just a case of making a start. So sort of having that time to just say, right, I'm going to sit down and then pick a model and just for example, to use my Death Guard, for example, I've got one now I'm working on, and it was I'd done all the base paint on it. I'd edge highlighted all the armor and the Death Guard green, and then it kind of sat there for a long time at that point. And then I came across it with Joe actually the other day, and I was like, "Oh God, I've even forgot that I've even got this one to paint." And is quite a cool meme. It's one of the Space Marine Hero limited, the limited series they do. So it's one of those ones with either a flail or so the chain mace thing. Looks really awesome. But yeah, so I just started to paint the trim, the brass trim, and then like you said, makes it start to look like a model coming together.
Yeah.
And then from there, I tend to keep it out, and then when I'm in my office, do a little bit, you put it down, do a little bit more, and just keep it out really. So I just do little bits at a time, and it starts coming together.
Oh, good tips. Good tips.
I usually find that as I'm painting a model, I think it looks absolutely shit and really rubbish, and I hate it. And then I go to bed, wake up the next morning, I'm like, wow, okay, I've impressed. Oh, like that looks so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about getting that sort of distance because you're so involved, aren't you?
Well, I really hate when you look at an older model that you painted, like one of the early models that I first painted. Looking at it, and you're like, "Oh my God, how did I miss all of this? All of this? I'm not even painted that. How did I think this was finished?" And then, but it's sort of, I think, as you develop your eye for it and your paint collection as well. You start off, especially when you first start out, the paints are so expensive to buy everything that you need, that you end up just purposely missing details because you just haven't got those colours.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas obviously, sort of 5 years down the line, maybe more, 6 years down the line.
Yeah.
Damn, it's been you sort of your paint collection's vastly improved. So you've got more options to be, when you see a bit of detail, you can oh, okay, yeah, I can paint that now.
Well, last year I went back and got my Reavers out, and I really like those models from the original 8th starter set and the Intercessors. And I was like, oh, they look god awful. And then I remember, and I'm sure I sent you both pictures, rotating the model and seeing that I'd completely and utterly missed the prime, the base, and everything. Just completely missed it. Like, shit. And then stripping them and then starting them again.
Well, that's a big difference between me and you, isn't it, Joe? Is that you strip your paint off your more original ones that you've painted.
Oh yeah,
and redo them as you've improved.
Yeah.
Whereas mine, I'm more of a like to be able to compare. Like, this is how I started. This is what I look like now. So I don't know what other people's preferences are, but
I mean,
interesting.
I just do it because when they're all on the table, I want them to look half decent. Not because not saying your painting was crap. Obviously, my painting was crap. We've just heard I've missed half of the fucking model, but that's why I used to. That's why I stripped them and redid them, because I thought the standard of them looked rubbish compared to what I have done, and I'm just worried that I'm going to go back now or in a few years' time if I'm still doing it, obviously, but go back and look at them what I'm doing now and think, that's awful. But it's progression, I suppose, isn't it?
It is, and I'm kind of on both sides of the fence with both of you there, because with my Dark Angels, I did the starter set and I did it in a certain way, and then as soon as I finished that, I decided to try edge highlighting, and I'd never looked back.
Yeah.
And now when I look at my starter set, I'm like, I don't want to play them with my edge highlighted guys, so I don't actually count them as part of my army anymore. And I kind of want to keep them like that to show me, like, that's where I've come from. This is the improvements I've made. But at the same time, I mean, if I have an infinite amount of storage space and money, that's great. But at the end of the day, maybe I could just go back and edge highlight them and make it all look uniform. And suddenly I've got a lot more of a usable army. Or maybe, I don't know what everyone else thinks. It's quite superficial at the end of the day.
But I agree though, because when I'm picking out my Marines, when I'm building a Death Guard list, I pick the ones that I've painted more recently and more proud of to play.
Yeah.
And the ones that I consider to be embarrassing, my earlier attempts, I don't like you. I don't tend to play them because I find them embarrassing to look at.
But when you do, they're normally the first ones that you kill off.
That is true as well. Yeah, if someone's getting it, it's the ones that I painted in the early days. Yeah. They are out. They are like sacrificial lambs.
But of course, it is very good. It's a very good sign that we're kind of embarrassed of the earlier models because it shows that we've made some improvements.
Yes, definitely.
I've never really understood this whole getting other people to paint the models for you.
No, it's half the fun, isn't it? Painting them.
Yeah.
But then again, we've got a close community. There's three of us that paint and actively talk and show each other the models, and we spur each other on and encourage each other to improve on bits. I suppose if you're just on your own, then and you've got the money, and you've not got the time, I suppose. Then yeah, but no, I don't
suppose like Winters when he was entering a competition to play. If you've not got time to actually paint the full army up, but you need to, you want to use one for a specific thing.
Yeah.
Then I suppose I can see the value then of having some, commission painting and stuff. But yeah.
It seems like more for the hardcore YouTubers that know all the rules. They want to play up all the different types of armies to make all the different types of battle reports. Whereas we're more trying to get value for money out of what we've bought, and getting someone else to paint it, that kind of takes that value away almost, because we're not learning skills, we're not having fun painting, we're not being creative in our own way.
Definitely,
yeah, definitely. Right, I think we should probably tie it up there because we've been waffling for 42 minutes and 25 seconds and continue.
12 free minutes.
I know. So we initially said half an hour, but we've gone over, so that's some bonus content for anybody that's listening.
Excellent. No, the 12 minutes can be for our Patreon supporters.
Oh yes, yeah. all none of them. One day.
If you donate £1,000, you get the bonus 12 minutes.
And
we don't know which 12 minutes are the bonus ones yet, though.
It would just be all the swear words that we've edited out.
So yes, thank you very much for listening, if you are listening, and if you want to check us out, we are on YouTube, Command Battle Win, and we've got some battle reports on there, and there's a few shorts, and we've all got Instagrams, which is basically CBW_Azo_Joe_Chris. And yeah, we appreciate the likes, subscribes, and all of that. And normally at the end of the video, we tell you to tell your mums. So that's cool.
Tell your mums.
First time heard of
move
it.
the troops.
Yes, move the troops. Which in the next what's it called? What are these things? So podcasts. Well, we can discuss the origins of the name CBW, Command Battle Win.
Oh God.
The origins of waffle and war, and the origins of move the troops. So stay tuned, and yeah, like you said, like, subscribe, and tell your mums. Bye.
Bye.